fast food chains used to dominate the breakfast rush, but a new player is cutting into their morning profits.
You peel open a fast food breakfast, and instead of comfort, you're hit with greasy steam, limp eggs, and sugar-soaked bread. These meals are sold as quick fuel, but they're really salt bombs and fat traps that push blood pressure, kidneys, and blood sugar over the edge. And the scariest part? They're still served daily across America. We're counting down 8 of the worst breakfasts to avoid and 2 safe picks. Let's start with the so-called wrap that traps you in sodium. Kicking off at number 8 is the crunch wrap that crunches your arteries before you even clock in. Picture this: a tortilla oozing jalapeno sauce, eggs slipping out the edges, and sausage grease soaking through the wrapper before you even take a bite. It looks handheld, but it eats like a sodium landmine. Taco Bell promises convenience with this breakfast. A portable wrap is neat, easy, and satisfying. But peel back that foil and what you're really holding is a grease-soaked triangle of regret. The numbers tell the story loud and clear. 750 calories, 49 grams of fat, and 1,210 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly half a day's salt in one breakfast sandwich. The fat almost doubles the protein. Only 21 grams of protein against nearly 50 grams of fat. That's not balance. That's bait and switch. And when seniors with high blood pressure meds or kidney issues take this on, it's not just breakfast, it's dizzy spells and swollen ankles waiting to happen. Ever eaten half a day's salt in one bite? That's this crunch wrap. And the texture doesn't help. The tortilla may look crisp in ads, but in reality, it's soggy at the edges, gummy in the middle, and dripping with cheese oil. The sausage? Dense, salty, and sweating fat. Bite in, and you're left with a slick coating on your tongue that water won't wash away. Customers have complained online about wrappers stained through with grease before they even reach the car. Meanwhile, Taco Bell leans into the marketing. They sell this as a clever twist on the classic breakfast burrito: hash browns, eggs, sausage, and cheese all conveniently folded into their signature wrap. Convenient, yes, but healthy? The FDA has flagged sodium overconsumption as one of the leading causes of heart strain in seniors. And Europe? Many fast food chains there use stricter sodium caps that would never allow a 1,210 milligram bomb like this to pass unchecked. Safer in Europe? Absolutely. So the best option is to make your own breakfast wrap. Whole grain tortilla, scrambled egg whites, avocado slices, and maybe a sprinkle of low-fat cheese. You'll cut the sodium by more than half and still get the satisfaction of a handheld meal, minus the greasy shame spiral. And if you thought this tortilla was trouble, wait until you meet the burrito that doubles down on grease. Before we jump into 7, hit subscribe now. Your stomach and your wallet will thank you. At lucky number 7, here's the burrito that stuffs every meat it can find, plus your arteries. Picture the paper it comes in. Grease already soaking through, little pools of orange oil seeping out, and tater tots spilling from the ends like greasy confetti. That's not breakfast on the go. That's a mobile oil spill. The word ultimate makes it sound premium. Bigger, better, worth the hype. But peel back that soggy tortilla, and what you actually get is an edible sponge for fat inside. There's sausage, bacon, scrambled eggs, cheese sauce, and tots. Every layer dripping, clumping, sticking together in a way that feels less like food and more like something you'd wring out of a fryer basket. Here's the number that matters: 820 calories, 56 grams of fat, and 2,190 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly the entire daily sodium allowance the FDA recommends, eaten before 9 a.m. Ever felt lightheaded after breakfast? This burrito can do that. Sodium spikes your blood pressure, which is dangerous enough on its own. For seniors taking heart or kidney meds, that extra sodium can mean swollen ankles, dizzy spells, or even arrhythmia risks. You won't believe what's lurking under the tortilla. It's not flavor, it's fatigue. The kind of fatigue where your body spends the morning just trying to process the salt overload. The so-called energy of this burrito is really just a heavy, greasy weight dragging you down. Staff forums have even joked about how this burrito leaves fingerprints. Not from the tortilla, but from the oil that coats your hands after holding it. That's not convenience. That's carrying around a hand wipe waiting to happen. For all that salt and fat, you only get 29 grams of protein. That's less than some Greek yogurts. So the ultimate name isn't about nutrition, it's about how completely it wrecks your morning. Make your own burrito, use an egg white base, toss in some black beans, fresh salsa, and wrap it in a whole wheat tortilla. You'll cut the fat by more than half, keep the protein, and actually feel awake after eating it instead of weighed down. But that's just a burrito. The next one is a platter that eats your whole day's calories. Sliding into number 6 is McDonald's breakfast plate that's bigger than your daily calorie budget. Picture this: spongy hotcakes drenched in syrup sliding right into a greasy sausage patty, pooling on the tray like a sweet and salty swamp. That's not a morning meal, that's a sugar and fat avalanche waiting to crush your system. This plate is marketed as a value meal. Biscuit, sausage, scrambled eggs, hash browns, and hotcakes. McDonald's sells it as fuel for your day. But look at the numbers. 1,340 calories, 63 grams of fat, 2,070 milligrams of sodium, and 158 grams of carbs. Would you eat 2 cheeseburgers and a milkshake for breakfast? Because that's basically what you're doing here. Your pancreas just called in a resignation. Why? Because this plate alone has 41 grams of sugar, the same as downing more than 3 glazed donuts. For diabetics or anyone with blood sugar issues, that's a recipe for a crash by mid-morning. You go from buzzing on syrup to fighting off a nap at your desk. McDonald's frames this as a family-friendly meal. Big breakfast sounds comforting, like it's meant to keep you satisfied and happy. Instead, it sets you up for artery strain, high blood pressure, and insulin spikes. Seniors on heart meds, this sodium and carb combo is a double hit. Salt to raise your pressure, sugar to hammer your blood chemistry. Staff who've worked the breakfast line joke that the syrup does the job of glue, and they're not wrong. The hotcakes stick to everything. Tray, fork, even your fingers. Combine that with the greasy patties sliding across the plate, and you've got a sticky, oily mess that feels less like breakfast and more like eating regret with a plastic fork. Mini hook time. Would you eat half your daily salt, fat, and sugar before 10 a.m.? Because that's what this plate does. The FDA warns against more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium in a day. This one meal already gives you 90% of that before lunch. So what's the fix? Don't grab the big breakfast. If you're stuck at McDonald's, pick oatmeal or grab an Egg McMuffin without cheese. You'll still get protein without the sugar flood or salt bomb. Quick check. Are you still with me? Hit that like button if these breakfasts are making you rethink your morning order. And tell me, would you ever eat 2 cheeseburgers worth of calories before noon? Drop your answer below. Now at number 5, we've got the Texas-sized burger that thinks hash browns belong inside a bun. Picture it. A soggy bun collapsing under grease, a sausage patty pressed against an egg with hash brown sticks sliding out like greasy fingers. It smells like a truck stop fryer and tastes like salt in a bun. Whataburger markets this thing as hearty, a breakfast of champions. But here's the betrayal. It's really just a cheeseburger dressed up for the morning shift. You're eating beef, bacon, eggs, cheese, and fried potatoes before you've even finished your first cup of coffee. That's not breakfast fuel. That's an oil sponge disguised as a sandwich. The numbers don't lie. 670 calories, 38 grams of fat, 1,540 milligrams of sodium. That's almost your entire daily salt budget, gone before noon. For seniors on blood pressure meds, this isn't just a heavy meal. It's dizziness, swelling, and your heart working overtime. The FDA caps sodium at 2,300 milligrams per day. This burger alone slams you with 2/3 of that. Ever felt lightheaded after breakfast? Now you know why. They tucked hash browns into it like fries at 8 a.m. Who decided greasy potato sticks were a balanced way to start the day? It's the kind of trick that feels almost cynical, as if Whataburger thought, why not cram every fried food into one sandwich? One ex-line cook once joked online, the grease bleeds through the wrapper before it hits the bag. Customers have backed that up, posting photos of translucent paper bags with burger oil soaking through. You're not holding food, you're clutching a greasy hand warmer. And what about sugar? Sure, it's not syrupy like McDonald's hotcakes, but the carb load still hits hard at 51 grams. Pair that with the fat and sodium, and it's a metabolic traffic jam. Seniors with kidney concerns? This combo is a nightmare. Excess salt stresses the kidneys, fat clogs the arteries, and carbs spike the blood sugar. So what's the safer play? If you're stuck at Whataburger, grab their egg sandwich without bacon and hash browns. You'll cut fat/sodium and still get a filling meal that won't leave your body waving a white flag before lunch. That burger was bad, but the next sandwich makes Subway's slogan feel like a cruel joke. At number 4, we've got the footlong that stretches your sodium past breaking point. Picture oily steak strips sliding out of a flatbread, with that plasticky American cheese peeling off and sticking to the wrapper like melted glue. It's messy, it's heavy, and it's sold to you with 2 words: eat fresh. But here's the betrayal. There's nothing fresh about it. The steak isn't grilled in-house. It's processed, frozen, then reheated. The egg? Pre-cooked, flat, and lifeless. Even the bread has been called out in lawsuits for containing chemicals that, in Europe, aren't even allowed in food. Still think Subway means healthy? Now let's talk numbers. One of these footlongs drops 870 calories, 46 grams of fat, and 1,840 milligrams of sodium. That's almost a full day's salt in a single sandwich. The FDA says seniors should stay under 1,500 milligrams if they've got high blood pressure or kidney concerns. Subway blows right past that before lunch. Ever felt thirsty all day after a sandwich? That's your body screaming for relief. This breakfast carries 56 grams of carbs and 52 grams of protein. Sounds balanced until you realize the sodium load makes your kidneys pump like overworked engines. For people on blood pressure meds, that's a recipe for swollen ankles, dizzy spells, and stress on the heart. Doctors will tell you, excess salt plus medication equals danger, and customers have noticed. In forums, people complain that the steak tastes rubbery and smells like reheated cafeteria food. Not exactly what you'd expect from a chain that built its empire on being the healthy choice. One whistleblower even said the meat comes in plastic bags, thawed in tubs of water, then slapped onto sandwiches. So if you're stuck at Subway, order a 6-inch with egg whites and pile on the veggies. Skip the steak, skip the cheese. That cuts the sodium nearly in half and still gives you enough protein to keep moving. But if that was a salt bomb, the next biscuit is a full-blown sodium nuke. Taking the number 3 spot, we've got the monster that really earns its name, in fat, in salt, and in regret. Picture this, a buttery biscuit dripping grease with bacon, sausage, 2 eggs, and a double layer of cheese stacked so high it leans like a collapsing tower. One bite and your napkin looks like an oil rag. Now here's the betrayal. Carl's Jr. sells it as a hearty Southern breakfast, comfort food, quick fuel, a treat-yourself moment. In reality, it's closer to half your daily calories shoved into a single biscuit. We're talking 850 calories, 56 grams of fat, and 2,420 milligrams of sodium. That's more salt than most adults should eat in an entire day, and you're getting it before 9 a.m. But here's the real shocker. 25 grams of that fat is saturated. For seniors, that's artery cement. Your blood pressure just spiked reading this, didn't it? The FDA and American Heart Association both warn against more than 13 grams of saturated fat daily. This biscuit gives you almost double in one sitting. Would you trust your heart to this biscuit? And it's not just the stats. Customers have complained online about biscuits arriving clammy, the eggs tasting like they were microwaved hours ago, and bacon so salty it tastes like a salt lick. One former employee even admitted that the biscuits arrive frozen and are reheated, far from the scratch-made charm the ads suggest. For anyone on blood pressure meds or with kidney concerns, this isn't just an indulgence, it's a risk. High-sodium meals like this can cause sudden water retention, dizziness, and even interfere with how your meds work. It's the kind of breakfast that leaves you sluggish, thirsty all day, and wondering why your rings feel tighter by noon. If you find yourself at Carl's Jr., skip the monster. Order a plain biscuit and pair it with egg whites. You'll cut the calories and slash the sodium without feeling like you swallowed a brick of butter. And if that biscuit left you sweating, brace yourself. The next breakfast stuffs bacon into cheese overload. 2. Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Runner-up spot goes to Wendy's Baconator, a morning grease bath disguised as a sandwich. Just picture it. 6 strips of bacon sweating oil under a heat lamp, stacked on top of a sausage patty, a fried egg, melted cheese, and yes, a blanket of cheese sauce. At 7 a.m., your breakfast literally drips. Wendy's pushes this thing as bold, indulgent, even worth waking up for. But here's the betrayal. What you're actually getting is 710 calories, 48 grams of fat, and 1,740 milligrams of sodium. That's 3/4 of your daily salt intake before you've even had coffee. And 19 grams of that fat is saturated, almost double the American Heart Association's daily limit. But here's the kicker: cheese sauce at breakfast. The FDA doesn't even classify some processed cheese sauces as real cheese. They're cheese products, full of emulsifiers and preservatives. One customer joked online, "It's like someone melted plastic on my bacon." Not exactly the farm-fresh image Wendy's likes to sell. Now, think about what this does to seniors. High sodium loads like this can spike blood pressure in a matter of hours. Pair that with 19 grams of saturated fat, and you've got a recipe for chest tightness, dizzy spells, and kidney stress. If you're on blood pressure meds, this sandwich isn't fuel. It's a fight with your prescriptions. Ever felt lightheaded after a salty breakfast sandwich? This is why. This sandwich packs more sodium than a medium order of fries and a cheeseburger combined. And you're eating it first thing in the morning when your body's least prepared to handle a fat and salt bomb. Europeans wouldn't even let something like this pass without stricter labeling. But here, it's a fan favorite. So if you're stuck at Wendy's for breakfast, grab a sausage biscuit without the egg or cheese. Still not great, but you'll cut hundreds of calories and dodge that fake cheese sludge. And if you thought this was greasy, Wait until you see the toast that manages to be worse for you than donuts. And finally, taking the #1 worst slot, Dunkin's sourdough breakfast brick. 2 greasy slabs of so-called sourdough, cheese melted until it clings like glue, and bacon wedged inside that tastes more like salt strips than meat. Bite into it and you're greeted with butter grease soaking into your napkin before it ever hits your tongue. Dunkin sells this as rustic, a hearty sourdough, artisanal, made for mornings. The betrayal? It's nothing more than cheesy salt toast, loaded with 650 calories, 32 grams of fat, 1,360 milligrams of sodium, and 58 grams of carbs. That's a double whammy. The carb load spikes your blood sugar, then the sodium keeps you thirsty all day. Does this look like health or like regret on toast? But here's the real shocker. Seniors eating this are taking on more than half their daily salt in one sandwich. Pair that with heart or kidney meds, and you're not starting the day strong. You're setting up a health crash. The FDA warns that high-sodium breakfasts like this increase stroke risk in adults over 60, and yet Dunkin calls it comfort food. Comfort for who? The cheese isn't exactly fresh deli cheese. Ex-staff and food forums admitted the slices come vacuum-sealed, stacked in oily plastic sheets. Heat them under the press, and they ooze like chemical glue instead of melting. One former worker said that sourdough was frozen, thawed, and toasted until it sweated grease. Now think about that bread. True sourdough ferments slowly, develops tang, texture, character. This? It's factory-made, full of conditioners and preservatives, baked to look rustic while delivering the nutritional punch of a fast food bun. Europeans demand stricter sourdough labeling. Here, the word is just slapped on a greasy slab. So what's the fix? If you're stuck at Dunkin, grab their wake-up wrap with egg and turkey sausage. It cuts the calories nearly in half, trims the sodium, and actually feels like breakfast instead of a sodium brick. That's the worst of the worst. But don't worry, not every fast food breakfast is a trap. Some actually back you up. And next, we'll show you 2 safe picks that prove you don't have to give up breakfast to stay healthy. First safe pick. Starbucks proves not every wrap is sodium sabotage. You unwrap it, and instead of grease dripping onto your lap, you see whole grain tortilla, fluffy egg whites, a handful of spinach, and feta crumbles that actually look like cheese, not melted glue. Warm, savory, and it doesn't leave your fingers shiny with oil. Here's the shocker. At just 290 calories, 19 grams of protein, and 6 grams of fiber, this wrap fuels you instead of flattening you. Yes, the sodium is still 820 milligrams, which is close to half the FDA's recommended daily limit for seniors on blood pressure meds. But compare that to the 2,000 plus milligrams hiding in a Carl's Jr. biscuit, and you see why this wrap makes the actually safe list. But here's the real kicker. It's filling. Protein from egg whites, fiber from spinach, and a tortilla that's whole grain instead of bleached white bread. This means slower digestion, steadier blood sugar, and no mid-morning crash that has you craving a donut at 10 a.m. Ever felt like breakfast made you hungrier 2 hours later? That's what this wrap avoids. Now let's talk betrayal, or the lack of it. Starbucks is infamous for its pastry case. Shiny croissants, oversized muffins, reduced fat coffee cake that's still 300 plus calories of sugar. That's where most people slip. But this wrap? It's actually one of the few menu items that lives up to the branding of balanced choices. You're not being tricked with words like rustic or artisanal. You're getting actual vegetables in a fast food breakfast. One ex-barista in a staff forum admitted, if customers ordered more wraps instead of croissants, they'd cut their sugar intake by half before lunch. That's not marketing. That's reality from behind the counter. So what's the fix if you're at Starbucks? Skip the pastry case. Don't grab the double chocolate muffin that packs more sugar than a candy bar. Stick with this wrap and maybe a black coffee or unsweetened latte. You'll thank yourself at 2 p.m. when you're not fighting a sugar slump. This wrap proves not all fast food breakfasts are traps. And if you want something even cleaner, the next pick skips sourdough grease for real whole grain balance. Our final safe pick, Panera's breakfast that finally respects your heart. You don't open the wrapper to find a grease puddle or bacon sweating under heat lamps. Instead, you see toasted whole grain bread stacked with creamy avocado, fluffy egg whites, and bright green spinach. It smells fresh, not fried. Here's what makes this one different. At 350 calories, with 19 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber, it's a real breakfast that fuels you, not a sugar crash waiting to happen. Yes, the sodium isn't zero, but it's moderate compared to the 2,400 milligrams hiding in Carl's Jr.'s Monster Biscuit. Seniors on blood pressure meds will notice the difference. This sandwich won't blow through their daily limit in one sitting. No greasy meats, no sausage patty sweating oil, no bacon slab hiding under melted cheese. Instead, avocado delivers healthy fats that actually support your heart. The FDA and American Heart Association keep repeating the same thing. Swap saturated fats for plant-based fats, and you cut heart disease risk. Panera, for once, actually listened. Ever wonder why most healthy fast food options still feel heavy? It's because chains sneak in hidden sugar or white bread. This sandwich avoids both. The bread is whole grain, meaning slower digestion, less of a blood sugar spike, and more steady energy. For seniors managing diabetes, that's not just nice, that's necessary. An ex-employee once posted on a staff forum, "The avocado sandwiches were always the ones we didn't feel guilty serving." That's telling. Even behind the counter, workers knew these weren't calorie bombs disguised as breakfast. If you're at Panera, pair this sandwich with black coffee. Skip the caramel latte that packs more sugar than a candy bar. Keep it simple, keep it clean. It's breakfast that feels like fuel, not regret. So yes, you can eat fast food breakfast if you know where the traps are. Hey, thanks for tuning in. What's the worst fast food breakfast you've ever unwrapped? Greasy, salty, or just plain sad? Drop it in the comments. And if you thought breakfast was bad, wait until you see what's swimming in canned sardines. Don't forget to subscribe for the truth about what's really hiding in your food.